The small village of Rio de Talea is located far in the mountains of southern Mexico. Just a few houses scattered over the stones and red earth, and they could be called houses only with the best intentions. Huts made of brick, built on the clearing of the forest. The electricity has only recently arrived, enough for only one device per house. Most often there is a black and white television, brought from God knows where, and connected on wires stretched from a pole. Water is still brought from the well. Pigs are roaming around the houses, and other small livestock are also walking around. Women still cook over open fires and red-hot volcanic stones. The men are looking to go to the city if they could at least earn something as manual laborers. This is what Rio de Talea looked like in the early 2000s. But they never lacked children. So was the case with 40-year-old Ines Ramirez Perez. Since she was 15, she gave birth 7 times. 6 children survived, while a year and a half earlier there were difficulties during childbirth. Ines has never forgotten the expression on the face of the village midwife who came to help her when her water broke. She told her that a cesarean section was necessary. Both knew there was no way they would get to the hospital in time. The nearest health facility is a 2-hour drive on bad roads, and the real one is 8. Ines felt the baby kicking in her stomach. Then the movement stopped. The baby was stillborn. She remembered that when she felt pain again on March 5th of 2018. She is 7 months pregnant. Around noon, she was engaged in her usual business when she stopped in mid-movement. She cringed. These were no longer the usual stomach movements. With the experience of 7 births, she could tell that the baby wanted out. The village was almost deserted. Everyone went about their business, and her husband was in the canteen a few miles away since early morning. She can't call him, there's no phone there. Admittedly, she doesn't have it either, and the pains are getting stronger. Soon she could hardly stand on her feet. Only 6 children remained with her. Maybe the pain subsides after all. She realized an hour later that it was just wishful thinking. Even if it did go away, the pain would soon return even stronger. She had to lay down. She was rolling on the dusty floor. She sent her son to get the midwife, but he returned after a few minutes alone. There was no one around. Just her and the kids, and a baby who wants to come out. Hours passed. No help anywhere. The unfortunate woman writhed in pain, moaning. Now it was almost non-stop, even those breaks were gone, as if someone was cutting her with a knife. Her husband will obviously not come. Then it came to her. She saw an old knife in the corner of the hut. The big one, rusty, was used for everything from slaughtering cattle to peeling of vegetables. No, it's not good. Its blade is already gone. She called her 8-year-old son again. She sent him to a shop almost a mile away to buy the same knife. The most common working knife, the cheapest they have there. And if he can, bring some help with him. The boy returned in less than half an hour, alone. None of the people in the store wanted to come with him. But he brought a knife. Ines looked at the blade, razor sharp, 7 inches long. She was trying to get out of her head what she intended. The pain was unbearable. It's been dark for a long time. No one to help. If no one has come by now, they won't until morning. And then they will probably find both her and the baby dead. Ines realized what she has to do. The words of the midwife during the last failed birth flashed through her head once more. Your natural births are over. The only solution is a cesarean section. She will not allow herself to lose another child. If the baby dies, she dies with it. But if the child survives, she too will have to watch him grow up. She barely found a larger battery lamp in the cellar that they used only in special cases. Fortunately, the batteries were not dead. She put the lamp on the table. She approached the bench. She sat down. The otherwise petite woman's stomach almost reached her chin. The baby was kicking. Ines grabbed the knife. She looked at the blade again. She didn't think about anything anymore. She grabbed a bottle of homemade strong liquor. Her husband liked that one, almost 100% alcohol. She spilled the liquor over the blade of the knife. Then she poured a larger cup. To herself. She drank it, almost in one gulp. Then she poured another cup. She reached for the knife, lifted her dress. The new wooden shaft immediately slid from her sweaty palm. She realized that the knife was too long for what she intended to do. So she slowly grasped the blade. She held the tip of the blade with her index finger, as is done in fine carving. Except that she intended not to carve a tree, but to cut her own stomach. She dug the tip of the knife just below the ribs. It didn't hurt that much. She got scared. The hand just withdrew. Blood hissed. She almost passed out, more from fear than from pain. With the last of her willpower, she forced herself to put the knife down again, and to bury it in the stomach. She no longer saw where the blade was. Blood covered everything. She screamed, partly from pain, partly from fear. Surprisingly, labor hurt more than the open wound, so much so that she had to stop. The knife fell out of the wound again. The blood flowed. She knew only that it was going to get worse, and that there is a possibility that she will pass out, then die. Both of them. She pressed the knife to her skin again. She continued to cut down the previous cut, lower and lower towards the groin. When she reached her navel, she no longer had the strength to even scream. She paused. Everything was red before her eyes. She knew there was no going back now. They will live. And she continued the cut, even lower. A terrible sight roared through her almost confused consciousness, and as if in a fog, she put her hand in the wound. She felt something. The legs move. She took the baby, slowly dragged it. A few seconds later, the boy was outside. After a few more seconds, the crying broke out. Ines grabbed the scissors that she had left on the table. She poured alcohol over them and cut the umbilical cord. The baby was crying. She must have passed out. She barely covered her stomach with a sweater and sent her son on another errand, to find a young man in a neighboring village who was a kind of paramedic. He arrived an hour later. When he saw the sight, he almost fainted. Nevertheless, he grabbed what he had at hand and sewed up the wound. With a regular needle and thread, actually. Then he put Ines and the baby in his van and hurried to San Lorenzo. When the doctor saw her there, he could only send them on. They reached San Pedro almost 8 hours after giving birth. Doctors did not believe the story at first. There is no blood poisoning or damage to internal organs anywhere. Even the uterus returned to its place. A medical miracle, a cesarean section on itself, about which many scientific papers were written later. In addition to courage, Ines also had luck. If she hadn't been sitting while performing the procedure, she probably would have punctured an internal organ. The same would have happened if she cut too deep. Like this, 2 weeks later, they were discharged from the hospital. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked what you saw, be sure to check out the other great content on our channel. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to bring you more. Thank you again, and see you in the next video.